I'm meteorologist Caitlin McGrath, and we are tracking the tropics. We have two big storms on the map right now. Tropical Storm Idalia, that is set to impact Florida as early as tomorrow afternoon. We also have Hurricane Franklin, now a major Category 4 storm, but thankfully posing no threat to land. It is kicking up some pretty rough sea for Bermuda and parts of the southeastern United States. But let's start with Idalia, because this is going to be a high impact storm for parts of the United States as we head through the rest of the week. The storm's still a tropical storm, but expected to strengthen into a Category 1 hurricane later this afternoon, becoming a Category 2 storm by tomorrow evening. Now, parts of South Florida, they'll start to feel the effects of Idalia as soon as tomorrow afternoon, prior to making landfall Wednesday morning as a major Category 3 hurricane. If you have loved ones in the area, you need to make sure you're checking in, make sure everyone has a plan in place. If you have property in the area, make sure you're making your plans now. This is going to be a high impact storm for so much of the state, even onto the Atlantic side. Parts of Jacksonville have a serious storm surge threat as that storm continues to pass across the panhandle into Georgia. It will weaken once it starts to interact with land, should pass near Jacksonville as a Category 1 hurricane before becoming a tropical storm near Savannah by Wednesday night, eventually working its way back into the Atlantic off the coast of the Carolinas by Thursday morning. But we'll continue to feel the effects all the way into the weekend. So here's a look at our spaghetti plots. And as a reminder, each individual line represents a possible track of Idalia, and there is some really solid agreement that somewhere between Tampa and the Florida Panhandle, that is where landfall will occur. Really strong agreement all the way through the Carolinas before it moves back out to sea. You can see the one outlier track does bring the remnants of the storm as close as Norfolk. That, of course, could impact parts of central and southern Virginia. It looks unlikely at this point, but something we'll be watching carefully as we head through the next several days. Almost the entire state of Florida is covered in some kind of hurricane or tropical storm watch and warning. We have hurricane warnings in effect for Tampa all the way back through the Panhandle. That's everywhere you see shaded there in red. Tropical storm warnings are shaded in yellow. We also have tropical storm watches as far over into Jacksonville. Also hurricane watches in effect for parts of north and central Florida. So the storm surge, a big threat. And keep in mind, the storm surge is that wall of water on top of the typical high tide. This is when you start to get that life-threatening flooding. Areas from Crystal River, just north of Tampa, back into the Panhandle, that's where we could see 7 to 11 feet of storm surge. The farther you get away from the center of the storm, the lesser the surge is expected to be. But all the way down into the Florida Keys, a storm surge of up to 3 feet. That can cause significant flooding. Parts of South Florida from Fort Myers to Marco Island, that's where we're expecting a storm surge up to 6 feet. An area shaded there in orange, that's in and around Tampa and Tampa Bay, up to 9 feet of that wall of water. And you can see all the way over into Jacksonville, and parts of Georgia have a storm surge threat as the storm continues to pass over the state. So we'll time it out here using Futurecast when they'll start to see conditions deteriorate. This is noon tomorrow, noon on Tuesday. Parts of South Florida and the Florida Keys already getting those outer convective bands. Tropical storm and hurricane force winds. They'll continue to creep closer to Tampa as we head throughout the evening. By 10 p.m., those winds really starting to ramp up. It is going to be a difficult evening for the parts of Florida as we head through Tuesday into Wednesday morning. Keep in mind, in those outer convective bands, tornadoes are very likely in addition to those hurricane force winds, and really locally heavy rain that, in addition to the storm surge threat, can cause urban and flash flooding. And then by Wednesday morning, we'll be watching the storm making landfall on the Florida Gulf Coast and then quickly moving off to the north and east. By lunchtime on Wednesday, the storm working its way through Georgia, eventually into South Carolina before moving offshore. But this is Wednesday night. You can see just torrential rain in addition to tropical storm force winds impacting so much of the southeastern United States, eventually moving out to sea as we look ahead toward Friday. We also have Hurricane Franklin we're watching. This is an impressive storm in and of itself, but thankfully no threat to land. It was officially a Category 3 hurricane as of the 5 o'clock advisory Monday morning, but in just several hours it strengthened into a powerful Category 4 storm. Those winds still 145 miles per hour, churning off to the north around 10 miles per hour. This will pass almost directly between Bermuda and the southeastern United States states by Tuesday afternoon. Still expected to be a major Category 4 storm before eventually weakening. This will kick up some high surf and strong rip currents for Bermuda and parts of the Carolina beaches. So if you do have loved ones in the area, maybe they're on vacation or heading out as we head closer to Labor Day, make sure you're checking in. But eventually that storm will weaken and push off to the north and east. We'll be keeping a really close eye on both of these storms over the next several days, but the big talker is going to be Idalia and the impacts it will have on Florida.